welcome to another episode of The Unusual Suspects. I'm your host, Vincent Oshana, and I'm very excited for today's show. Besides our regular guests, regular unusuals, Connor, Kayvon, Brady, we have our guest today's name. It's synonymous with political strategy and controversy, all right? He's a seasoned political operator. And I don't mean like a little bit of seasoning. I mean like Mrs. Dash, the Cajun stuff. He's an author, and he's my favorite unusual suspect. He's an agent provocateur. Ladies and gentlemen, Roger Stone. What's up?
Hey,
what an honor.
Roger.
Great Roger, every time we're talking or we're hanging out and we're having dinner or whatever, and then Roger's like, yeah, I'm free on that day. And I'm just like, yeah. It actually gets me excited.
Happy to be here.
I love you, Raj. Okay, so guys, just really fast, the topics that we're going to hit today. Big Brother is watching you and your financials. We're going to get into that story. The Black National Anthem at the Super Bowl. We have some thoughts on that. The View has an idea of who's going to be who should run for president.
Demons.
I love that word. I love when I say demons. People go, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yes, I really am."
100%.
And then we're going to talk about the actual state of the union. Me and Roger, we're all going to get everybody's opinion on that. But before we get into the stories, I want everybody to know. So we have an app called Minnect where you can connect with any of your talent, artists, anybody you want to talk to that's on the app. Me, Patrick, but David, everybody. Roger's on Minnect. If you guys want to talk to Roger about anything, advice, political style, outfit, just want to talk to him. This app is absolutely ridiculous, and he's going to respond because he has to. It's coming to him directly. It's on his phone. That's what it is. So if you guys want to talk to Roger, have a video, a one-on-one call, a text message, a video message, you can find him on Minnect. You can find all of us on Minnect. So that being said, let's get into it.
Yeah,
all right?
Let's go.
The first story is Connor. We found out that Big Brother is watching us and our financials. Can you please, anything that has to do with my money and them watching, I don't like it.
Yeah, so let's get right into this. Have any of you ever sent a financial transaction that had a right-leaning word in it? Have you ever shopped at a sporting goods store?
Yeah.
Have you ever bought fishing equipment?
Absolutely.
Have you ever purchased a Bible?
Of course.
If so, ever since January 6th, the United States government has been watching you.
Wow.
Now, this report first came to us, let me consult my notes here, from Jim Jordan. We're all familiar with Congressman Jordan on the House Judiciary Committee. He first posted this on Twitter a few months ago, early January, I believe it was, where he was breaking down in his style of doing, where he puts out the documents that they obtain, that the government has been flagging financial transactions. Excuse me. Particularly, it is the Department of Treasury with their Financial Crimes Division that they became concerned about domestic extremists in the wake of January 6th. FinCEN is what it's called, where they basically put out to most major banking institutions, hey, if you come across anything like a Zelle payment, a Venmo, a transaction between two different accounts, if it says Trump, if it says Antifa, Pelosi, if it says Kamala Harris, basically anything that a right-winger might be mentioning to friends in transactions.
Horns.
Yeah,
For the outfit.
they didn't flag buffalo hats.
Okay.
So you're telling me if I bought a Make America Great hat, which, by the way, I would never wear because I look like a dork in a big hat. If I did. I'm strictly a Hamburg guy. But if I did, you're telling me they were tracking my bank information?
Yeah.
And this is legally being done.
Legally dubious in the same ways.
I hate that.
I reported a story a few months ago about how they were also monitoring, cell phone records and stuff like that. Same thing, where the government can't do it, but the government can nudge a private company to do it and then tell them what they come across. Same way where if there are suspicious people who are making phone calls, they nudge the phone company like, hey, it would be pretty helpful if you told us who they were calling, right?
Or you mean not to cut you off, Brady? Or you mean the government telling the FBI, sending 81 agents to go to Twitter and say, hey, listen, don't let anything negative happen about that old bastard or his son. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous.
So say so they're coming after my Venmo. So I sell a lot of art and stuff like that. Say I paint a picture of Trump, they'll come after me for that.
Well, it's not just about what you're you're selling.
It's the keywords, I think.
It's the keywords, where if you do a portrait of Trump,
right, which
you
I
sell
have.
it to your buddy for however much.
$5,000.
And then he pays you via Venmo and says, or Zelle.
What's this for?
Zelle is the most specific one. And in the notes, he says, thanks for the Trump painting.
Oh,
Right.
damn.
The word Trump would have appeared on this radar.
So do I lose my account, or how does that work?
Well, they're just watching you. Now they're watching you.
They're
great.
just watching. So I wrote an article on this when Jordan first posted it, but the Treasury Department has since confirmed it officially. They admitted, yes, we were doing it. According to an open letter co-written by the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of Federal Government, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, aka FinCEN, quote, distributed materials to financial institutions that, among other things, outline the typologies of various persons of interest and provide financial institutions with suggested search terms and merchant category codes for identifying transactions on behalf of federal law enforcement.
See, what I like, they act like this is just to kind of protect us from people that did January 6th,
Right.
but they're not tracking Antifa or people who bought bricks or who bought a stolen iPhone. BLM.
Yep,
They're not tracking that. This is a one-sided lawfare situation.
Bullshit is what it is.
And Raj, you think it's just? I mean, obviously, we're not stupid. What it is it just the going after the right situation, like what he's basically saying? They don't give a shit about anything that the left is doing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of ironic that this comes to us on a day. We talk about this on a day in which it is revealed that long before the Steele dossier, the Central Intelligence Agency was going to British intelligence to ask them to spy on 26 Americans who were supporters or friends or advisors of Donald Trump, to give the Central Intelligence Agency deniability. Oh, it wasn't us. No, we didn't do it. We had them do it and give us the fruits. John Brennan cooked this up. It's illegal. But to date, he has paid no penalty for it. A couple of thoughts. I mean, first of all, it's the same mentality we're talking about. The government spying on private citizens without any probable cause. Right. It's not that they were monitoring people because they had some evidence that they were involved in a crime. You're being watched simply because you support or you're in touch with Donald Trump.
Right.
It's absolutely outrageous. But my guess is it's still going on even today.
Let me ask you, Roger, too, in terms of all that, where do these tactics come from? Because obviously this has been happening with us in terms of our freedom. I feel like didn't the Nazis kind of start this whole operation in terms of spying on you, stuff you say, stuff you leak out? And then isn't that slowly what is happening to us in terms of our freedoms?
Except for there's so much more in terms of technological advances now. So nobody's wiretapped anymore. They don't have to go plant a bug in your car or your home. They can all do it, by projection.
We bugged ourselves. We bring our phones with us everywhere.
They said that I forgot what the name, and I read this somewhere, that the CIA had a special name for Mark Zuckerberg. Like they loved him.
Oh, really?
Because he made it, by the way, your entire life, they've been trying, right? They want to know where you're going. They bug this, they tap this. Mark Zuckerberg made it cool to where you're willingly doing it. And if you don't do it, people are like, hey, you went on vacation? We didn't see any pictures of you, your kid. Now, as of right now, just from my phone, from my social media, you know where I go, you know who I talk to, you know where I eat. And they have predictive programming where they can tell you where you're going to be. So if they're looking for you, they go, oh, well, on Thursdays, he normally gets coffee here and talks to such and such, and he winds up at this intersection at this time. It's insane.
That's scary.
The Biden administration's always looked for ways to divide us on lines that we would already decide, like getting the vaccine, okay? So those that didn't want to get it, they immediately alienated those people. Now they're doing it with just things you're buying. And then women, if moms are speaking at those school board meetings and they say things against it, they've been put on these lists as well as domestic terrorists because they don't want certain books being taught to children.
It's awful.
But the way they flagged these things also shows how little they think of the people they're monitoring. That they created this caricature of what the average right-winger is.
Right.
Because it wasn't just, someone in a Venmo saying, here's $5,000 for planting those bombs or whatever. Like, it wasn't extremist stuff like that. They flagged, did you buy a bus ticket around January 6th? Near somewhere
anywhere
in DC?
near it.
Anywhere near it. And if you had no reason to be there, we think you might have gone to January.
But you said like fishing poles and hunting goods.
Yeah. Anything. How about a Bible? You bought a Bible.
Yeah.
Oh, must be dangerous.
Holy shit. You like God?
The quote from Jordan was, Transportation charges, including bus tickets and plane travel for areas with no apparent purpose, or, quote, the purchase of books, including religious texts, and subscriptions to other media containing extremist views. So, if you ordered a Bible on Amazon around January 6th, there was, maybe a reason to think that you were involved.
Probable cause. So they're just using our behavioral patterns to track who's on their side and who's probably an enemy.
But also, whose definition of extremist track? So if you subscribe to the Breitbart News or Revolver News, but if you subscribe to any left, if you subscribe to the Huffington Post, one of the most ridiculous ones, that's perfectly all right. That's mainstream.
So, Roger, when you brought up, not to cut you off, when you brought up the CIA, Obama paying all these officials, I think he went up to 26 people. Were you one of these people?
I was actually on my way here. I was listening to Dan Bongino, who read the list. Now, this is the first time I've heard the list. I knew I was on the list because on January 20th, 2017, that's the day of the inauguration, that morning the New York Times has a front page story above the fold which says that 3 Trump associates, Carter Page, Paul Manafort, and myself, were under surveillance regarding our contacts with Russia. Well, I didn't think too much of it. You know why? Because I had no contacts with Russia.
Right.
But then later, when they charged me in this fabricated charge of lying to Congress under oath in my voluntary testimony regarding Russian collusion that we now know never actually happened, the government adamantly denied that they had ever surveilled me. The New York Times will not retract the story. They insist they have 3 solid sources. We now know the New York Times was right. By the way, that story, when it goes online, they soften the headline, but the story's still there.
Yeah, they go back and edit it. They stealth edit those headlines. Did you feel like you're under surveillance? Did you see a van parked outside?
To me, it just seemed very odd because I knew I didn't know any Russians. I'd never been to Russia. Wasn't talking to any Russians. So it's an absurdity.
Was it digital?
They don't really say. They just say, actually, they use in the headline, the original headline, they said we were wiretapped. Well, that's an antiquated term. They don't wiretap anymore, but that's the word the New York Times used in their headline.
Well, and Roger, in the aftermath, it must feel, because I've obviously never had it happen to me. I mean, you know what I'm about. You know what I talk about. You see my platform. I'm reaching millions of people. How does it make you feel once you realize, like, oh shit, illegally watching me for something that I didn't do and I have nothing a part of, but they're watching me to try to set me up?
It's a creepy feeling. On the other hand, today I operate on the basis that everything I say, everything I write, everything I text, everything I do is probably all being monitored somewhere. So I still haven't done anything wrong. So that's the irony.
Let me ask you, do you think it's just if you're doing something illegal, or are they also gathering stuff that might be embarrassing to you to then blackmail you later?
Certainly a possibility. I mean, first of all, they're supposed to have probable cause. They need to have some piece of evidence that would indicate that you're involved in some criminal activity. So when the Mueller prosecutors went to multiple federal judges, they said, Your Honor, we have reason to believe that Stone is guilty of conspiracy against the United States, money laundering millions, counterfeiting Russian money, unauthorized access to a government computer, aiding and abetting a criminal conspiracy. Now, when they got more than 1 million emails, because I'm one of these guys who never deletes anything.
Smart.
And all my text messages. You know what they found? Nothing. That's what they found. Nothing.
I love it. And they still keep on your ass, Raj, because they're like, just as long as they're making you look like crap in front of the public eye.
I mean, I guess here's the point. So, yes, I have a very limited exchange on Twitter direct messages between myself and the persona of someone who calls himself Guccifer 2.0.
Okay.
This takes place 3 months after WikiLeaks has already published all the Clinton DNC material. So just on the basis of the timeline, impossible for you to be involved in a conspiracy for something that has already happened, right? And it's innocuous. I myself publish it. I make it public. I turn it over to the House Intelligence Committee. Yet, to this day, you will see accusations by Robert Mueller and others. Stone was in touch with the Russian intelligence services. Well, first of all, I don't even concede that Guccifer 2 was, in fact, Russian intelligence, just because John Brennan says he was. I've written 4 longer articles that would indicate that's not the case. But secondarily, even if it were true, The exchange is limited and it's innocuous. There's no evidence of collusion or collaboration or any other crime.
Right.
But you go to Twitter right now, you'll find a bunch of people who say, oh, Stone was in direct touch with Russian intelligence. It's bull.
So there's no emails of you speaking Russian at all.
No, I'm half Hungarian and I speak Hungarian.
Look at that. What were you going to say, Conor?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring it to a close with the last point, because in addition to all that, they were also just monitoring anyone who shopped at Cabela's or Bass Pro or went to a firearm store.
Screwed.
Yeah, and I took that very personally, because growing up middle class, going to Bass Pro was like a vacation. It was a free theme park to go walk around and look at the fish tank and everything.
But
I guess that makes me a right-wing extremist.
But, yeah,
shop there.
But look at that. Yeah. Look at the genre that they're going after. The white guy, anti-white rhetoric. That's all you keep hearing is the white, the hunter, the fisherman, the people that are trying to live off the land.
Right.
They have to make us look, the average Joe, like the enemy, Roger. If you think about it, and we'll get into we'll touch on the January 6th thing and what that was about and what they're going to be using it for future.
And this is what they pioneered with the entire Trump campaign. They went after you guys, and then they directed it against the rest of us right afterwards. It's like Trump always said, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in the way. Once they got away with it, they decided, hey, why not do it to everybody?
My question for Roger is, was this going on, does this happen when a Republican is in office, or is this just strategically a leftist slimeball move that they keep doing?
I don't think this ever went on under Republicans. Now, people say, oh, Watergate. Let's look at Watergate for a moment. Mm-hmm. So a bunch of misguided private citizens come up with the idea of breaking into the Watergate. Mm-hmm. They bungle the job from the beginning. Mm-hmm. The wiretaps they place never actually record anybody. Mm-hmm. But the Central Intelligence Agency, we now know based on declassified documents, gets wind of this, infiltrates the burglar team. 4 of the 8 Watergate burglars are still on the CIA payroll, and they're reporting everything to their handlers.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Now, compare that with this, which is essentially Barack Obama and Joe Biden using the full authority of the federal government and the extraordinary capability of the intelligence agencies, utilizing what they know is fabricated evidence as their rationale to mount an effort to remove a duly elected president. That's an abuse of power. The other thing is a political charade. It's a comedy of errors. It's stupid. Why, when you're leading in 49 states and you're about to have the greatest landslide in American political history, why would you want to wiretap the Democratic National Committee? Plus, if you know anything about politics, there's nothing going on at the DNC worth knowing. It would be over at George McGovern's headquarters. So, no, the answer is no. I don't think we've ever seen this kind of surveillance state. It really grows under Obama, and it is most likely extremely active today.
And thanks, Roger. And I definitely want to say you brought up Brennan. If you just look at a photo of Brennan, one of just the most ugliest, angriest guys who, mind you, used to be the head of the CIA. Guess where he talks for MSNBC.
Well, let's be clear about a couple things. First of all, he's a self-admitted former communist.
Yes.
He admits that he voted for the Communist Party candidate for president. Mm-hmm. He was the RITA CIA station chief who gave the visas to 4 of the hijackers who came here and attacked the country on 9/11.
Weird.
Last weekend on my WABC New York radio show, I had the FBI former counterterrorism expert John Guandolo, who says and has been supported and claims that Brennan converted to radical Islam in a ceremony when he was the CIA station chief in RITA.
That's a hat trick.
And one of the other retired station chiefs has backed him in this claim. So John Brennan is a bad actor who felt that he could break the law with impunity. By the way, he also lied to a Senate committee about spying on the committee when they were investigating his use of illegal torture. But of course, he was not charged.
Never. Of course,
he is the quintessential bad actor. Prior to my trial, when I posted a meme online of him in a wanted poster for treason, the judge threatened to throw me in jail for that.
Well, weird. Must be.
Did you leave it up or you took it down?
I took it down.
Yeah, well, I don't want Roger to go to jail. All right, so we're going to go to the next story. We're going to go to you, Kayvon.
Yeah.
You're going to be talking about the other national anthem that was played during the Super Bowl.
I saw this and I thought I was starting to take it away, but this is just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, go ahead. Lead into the story, Kayvon.
Well, yeah, this is more on a social front, and I'm concerned what I just heard over there. But so before the Super Bowl kickoff ever happened, the most divisive thing took place. The singing of what many call the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Booty and Twerk. No, lift every voice and sing.
For a second, I'm like, what the hell did he just say?
But you know what? That kind of sounded fire.
That's on fire, right?
Like, what?
So this is written by James Weldon approximately 100 years ago, and the wealthy and privileged Andra Day proclaims in People magazine interview before she sang it, I'm looking forward to the day that we have a universal anthem that represents everyone. So she thinks this is like one step closer, and I contend we already have that. It's a very unfamiliar tone. It doesn't slap, as the kids would say. And in the diversity, there was no diversity in the singing of it. If we're trying to find an anthem for everyone, which I think we already do have, it's, 5 background singers of all the same ethnicity as the singer. It just seems like it's being placed there by bad actors to divide us, make us hate the red, white, and blue. We already have Colin Kaepernick kneeling for it. We have people that don't even like the song anymore. And there was a congressman you've never heard of, Democrat, and his name is Steve Cohen, and he tweeted as the song was being played.
I know Steve Cohen.
You know him.
I don't know him personally, but he's a creepy looking dude with glasses.
He tweeted this. Okay. Listen to what he tweeted, though. I'm going to read this. Quoting, I don't want to get canceled. Don't snip this. Very, very few stood up at the Super Bowl for Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Negro National Anthem. Not a pretty picture of the Super Bowl crowd.
Okay, first of all,
literally
he's a clown, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the character is bald and he has a ponytail. I rest my case.
Right.
There you go.
I rest my case.
Yeah, we have.
Kelly, if you have Steve Cohen, send it. Look at him.
There he is. So,
he's with your boy Zelensky.
Of course.
If you want to write your congressman and you're in Memphis, Tennessee, make sure you know the 74-year-old is using one of the various words that we were told we can't use anymore. I wanted to ask the group, what would happen if a Republican or someone in the moderate center said, no one stood for the Negro anthem?
Of course it's deep. You'd get freaking canceled. They walk around with impunity, just like when Biden said something along the lines where he said he's about to put y'all back in chains. It's the level. That's why, bro, that whole argument, that whole racial division, you lose all credibility for me. And by the way, the NFL, the fact that they would let somebody sing a completely different anthem than the national anthem. By the way, you're going to sing a black national anthem, but then you're going to have a sign in the end zone that says end racism. Does that make any sense?
No.
You are a walking, talking contradiction, NFL. And it's like, I'm sick and tired of trying to make everybody separate.
Yeah.
Well, in all honesty, if the NFL wants to do something, let them pay their veteran players, 80% of whom are black, who are still living with brain injuries, who got an enormous settlement, all of which has been paid to the lawyers. Mm-hmm. There are Hall of Famers in this country who are delivering pizzas for a living, trying to make ends meet, those who aren't too sick to get out of bed. And the NFL has never paid these black players, and they're overwhelmingly black. I have met with a number of the wives. I met with a number of the veteran players. I wrote about this extensively, which only got me attacked. But why doesn't the NFL step up? They're making plenty of money. They're more profitable than ever.
But I have a question, too, Vinny, and for you and Roger, is why is it the same message in the end zone? Why is it the same message in the end zone? What about stop human trafficking? Why are we not putting there?
Well,
that's my check. That's $1 billion business too, right?
Big time.
Or stop fentanyl. Or stop drugs.
Great point.
Close the border.
It's because you can't blame white people for human trafficking.
Yeah, but look at it. It goes back to his story, which you guys didn't plan this. It bleeds into this anti-white rhetoric. And mind you, I'm Middle Eastern. I'm just letting you guys know. FYI, so is Kayvon. You're Jamaican. I'm not technically white. I mean, this is considered white, but it's like enough of this bullshit because they have to have a domestic enemy, and it can't be any other race, or else they're going to be racist. But to put by the way, and what an unattainable goal. Think about it. End racism. What is that? Is it a demand?
Yeah.
Are you requesting it? Is it end racism? You think some guy in the Mississippi or Alabama? You're not going to change end everybody. Because guess what, guys? I'm sorry. There are racists out there. Yep. Guess what? Stay away from these assholes. I'm sorry about my language, but that's the truth. Don't go down there and guess what? Circle yourself around people that aren't racist. But also, because you're not going to change everybody.
Right. They also have signs that says it takes all of us. What the fuck does that mean? What are you talking about? I thought since we're the problem, does it take all of us or just take some of us?
Take some of us.
Because last time I checked, you're pointing out that it just takes some of us.
Yeah, we're going to say, Raj?
Again, if they want to do something for black people, there's a $356 million legal settlement with their veteran players. 80% of the class in the lawsuit are African American, but they still haven't gotten paid.
Of course.
And Roger Goodell, call your office.
Well, yeah, where's the money go, Raj? If they made
it's going to lawyers,
it's going to BLM.
It's going to conservators, it's going to those in the process. One lawyer, I think, was paid $74 million. But none of it's getting to the players.
No. Yeah.
It's a national scandal.
Well, I'm concerned about this because they're saying, well, it's not even a national anthem anyways. You're getting it wrong. But also, it is our new national anthem. You need to respect it. And it's not a big deal, but it's also historic. So they keep moving the little pawn piece.
Sure, the goalpost.
They moved the goalpost. Good one. And now, you guys might remember the Deadspin writer who called the Chiefs kid a racist. He was wearing a headdress and had his face painted black. So Deadspin took a picture and showed him, said the kid wore blackface. But when he turned his face, he had red on this side, Chiefs colors. So that author wrote, that writer also wrote, he disapproved of the actual national anthem being played. He said, it's a shame that the NFL actually thinks the best way to honor the victims of systemic racism is to play Black America's most sacred song and then follow it with the national anthem written by a slave owner, full of racist lyrics. So he's offended by the real Star Spangled Banner.
Well, also, the racist lyrics he's talking about in the song, I think, Kayvon, you even mentioned that in the article you wrote. It's in the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner that is not included in the national anthem. No one's ever heard this. Like, are there a lot of Francis Scott Key fans in the room?
Yeah, I'm listening to the third verse.
On iTunes?
That you're familiar with the third verse of the song?
Yeah, the song's like 6 minutes
he just
long.
happens to mention the word slave. He's not saying, hey, it's a good thing we own slaves, right?
Yeah.
He's just saying the word slave appears.
Yep.
It's like you can't deny, like, that's why when they're removing all these statues, it's like, bro, you can't erase history. History is called history because that's what it is. You can't change it. The song is the song. That's a song we have. It's a national anthem. Just going backwards and now it's just divisive measures that is just another step to make us hate each other while these people are running away with billions and billions and laundering money and doing all that shit. Meanwhile, we're arguing and we're having people go like, hey, why is she singing that? It's like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's not doing it's not beneficial for
You're
anybody.
not doing anything.
And what it is, it's actually demeaning to the black community that didn't ever have a problem or needed a national anthem ever.
What do you mean?
We stand proud, we stand together, we stand united. That's what it's all about.
90
United,
seconds.
we stand. So what is the black national anthem going to do? It's going to divide everybody.
100%.
And then, guys, cue the signs in the end zone, everybody.
Racism,
as Roger Goodell collects money hand over fist.
If you convince people they have an illness, then you can sell them the cure. So they don't want us to end racism. They want us to always talk about ending it, and then there's a new guy who can teach you how we can do that.
Because I do have a question, though, that nobody has really addressed with discussing the Black National Anthem. What nation? It's a national anthem,
right?
Which means it's supposed to be the anthem for a nation.
Right.
So when you say this is the Black National Anthem, you are implying that a black nation exists. Where is that nation?
Point to it.
So basically to say that we need a black national anthem is to say, hey, there should be a black secession movement where every black person just leaves the United States and starts their own country. But no one's suggesting
or
that,
alternatively,
of course.
we could have the Italian national anthem play. I mean, where's our national anthem?
Where are we stopping?
So that leads me to my final point on the topic. So Connor and I have been working hard on bringing comedy to valuetainment.com. So go on there, check out the articles. You're going to love them. We wrote this up, a fake press release from the National Football League for next year.
Oh, okay.
The Super Bowl will be delayed 2 hours this year due to the singing of our national anthem, immediately followed by the Black national anthem, and then the Armenian anthem, which we expect to be running late.
Got you.
Then we will hear the Spanish anthem, French anthem, Asian anthem, which we divided into Japanese, Korean, Chinese, and our new spicy Pad Thai anthem.
Thank God.
Nice.
We will then hear the LGBTQIAA2SP plus anthem, the gay BCs.
Got you.
Followed by a moment of silence for the Ukrainian anthem. The NFL proudly will not play the Russian anthem, but will split the Israeli and Palestinian anthem perfectly in half. Nice. We plan to conclude with La Bamba, as Mexico still has not turned in their anthem.
I think that's called the Olympics, right? That's called the Olympics.
Nice.
I made Roger laugh. That's all I wanted to do today.
It's a veritable international house of pancakes.
Now, of course, there can be no white anthem, because to give white people their own anything is racist.
It's called Creedence Clearwater.
What would you like to see as the white national anthem?
Leonard Skinner.
I nominate Freebird.
Yeah, Wait.
Hey,
yeah, but you
see?
better be careful because if you hire somebody to write it and you Venmo him and you're white,
Yes,
they're going to go after your ass. If you put white.
Thanks for the white national anthem.
You can't
use it.
You can't put freedom, brother.
Yeah. Oh God.
We got to go with songs that have already been written so that nobody has to.
Yeah.
Get hired.
I just hope that we get to a point where, I mean, 'cause it doesn't sound like it's happening anytime soon. The divisiveness, the left, right, black, white. It's like, bro, enough is enough. These people are screwing us over every moment. I'm talking about the government, and they have us. I mean, their plan is working perfect. Look, and I'm happy that we're talking about it, but look what we're talking about.
Right.
A black national anthem. Do you know how many people, you know, it's on purpose. Do you know how many white families down in all these other places were like, what the hell is they're causing this to happen on purpose, and then you nailed it. And then you catch the ball in the end zone, and all of a sudden it's like end racism. It's like, wherever the hell, and Colin Kaepernick, I am shocked. We haven't heard anything from him because normally when he's telling a book, Roger, or something, he's like, oh, and by the way, my white parents who adopted me, they're racist. Buy my book. It's like, when are we going to stop?
Hear all the details inside.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I genuinely hope that something happens, Raj, because, and we're going to get into a bunch of the stories, how there's so much going on that this, to me, is the most minuscule thing that people have to worry about, is the color of our skin.
Meanwhile, China's learning math, science, the Koreans,
they're
the
taking
Japanese.
apart guns.
How about a moment of silence for our border?
Yeah, how about that? How about close the border in the end zone? That'd be a great sign.
We're going to be singing a new anthem in Spanish in a couple years if they don't close the border.
Oh, for sure.
We'll figure it out from there.
All right, guys. So we're going to move on to the next story. Brady, you've been up in arms over The View.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'm not really, but I'm saying.
Time out.
I just thought this was interesting.
Were you upset at all?
Yeah, of course I'm upset.
I love up in arms. What does up in arms mean? Are you just like this?
yeah.
Okay.
Wait, did you say up in arms? Or did I say?
I wrote it here, but so something. They have ideas about the presidential ticket.
Right. Okay. So Roger, maybe you can help me with this because you were on The View and you know these psychopaths.
Can I not to cut you up before you go?
Sure, go ahead.
I hate Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
All right, go back to that photo. Go back to that photo. Look at that.
Look at that.
Dude.
But like, what a.
Vinny, do that face. I just want to see side by side. Can you? Get the camera with it.
Look at that, Vinny. Look at the girl in the back, by the way.
Yeah, but Kamala cackling for no reason.
Yeah.
Roger, I know you love Kamala. And look, the girl in the back's hot.
Why
she's
she's
kinda hot.
like two different versions of the Joker from old Batman.
Yeah.
He does. But okay, sorry, Brady. I just wanted to get that photo.
No, it's all right. So The View came out, and they float Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom to replace Biden after special counsel report. Did you hear anything about that, Roger?
Yeah, her.
Well, I certainly heard about the special counsel report.
Okay.
It's pretty amazing. So let's be very clear what happened here. The Biden Justice Department appointed a special counsel. They could have appointed anybody they wanted, and the Biden Justice Department determined that Joe Biden willfully violated the law in his retention of classified and top secret documents.
No kidding.
But that he should not be prosecuted because of his mental deterioration.
Weird.
So his alibi is he's stupid.
Right. So, but there's no question about the finding. Now, you can go on CNN or MSNBC. You can find Ari Melber saying, well, the report showed that Biden didn't break any laws. No, actually, it said the exact opposite. So this is the trick they always use, which is to completely misstate what has actually happened. Biden can't really have this both ways. In other words, you can't say, I can't stay in trial for this crime because I'm slipping mentally, but you should reelect me to another term so I can have my fingers on the nuclear button.
Exactly.
So that's what they're referring to. I think Democrats, Barack Obama, even Biden supporters now recognize that he cannot win again. He's in no shape to go through a debate, to go through a campaign.
You put win again, you mean, right?
Win again. Elect again. He's
Right.
in no shape to even run again.
Right. So The View, what they did is, what they're pushing out there is this Satan's dream team. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen of fucking Satan. Is Kamala Harris. Okay, I know. Kamala and Gavin Newsom, which is hilarious. The co-host, Sonny Hostin, believed that Harris could not get elected as a biracial woman because this country is not ready for a black female president.
But we got the end zone.
I know. But she goes, we couldn't even elect one of the most qualified white women in this country as president. She lamented, referring to Hillary Clinton.
I think that what they misunderstand is because he's a white male, Gavin Newsom is probably unnominatable in the Democratic Party.
100%.
Secondarily, this is insulting to Kamala because under any normal circumstance, if the president stepped down, resigned, or was removed under the 25th Amendment, she would be next in line. So why isn't their ticket Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom?
Right.
Now, I would relish an election with Kamala Harris because she doesn't have dementia, but she makes even less sense than Joe Biden.
Right, yeah. She has word salad, as they say.
Yeah, she's the worst.
So I said,
school bus.
Yeah.
So I said, if there's a problem, okay, I have other options. What about Nikki Haley and Kamala, the first brown duo? You know what I mean? Because Nikki Haley came out and said she is brown, right? Add in Elizabeth Warren, and you have an all-female ethnic dream team, right? A modern-day all-female woke Marvel movie. By the way, that Marvel movie with all white females flopped, $47 million at the box office.
Well, imagine what the country would do.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Good call. But Gavin Newsom is not a leader. And Patrick Bet-David, he went up against Bill Maher. And I thought it was great. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because Pat really brought up a good subject in terms of what Bill was asking him in the back and forth. And I think it's about 90% of what we're all thinking. Can you play that, Kelly? Yes. Thank you.
You like Newsom. How do you feel about Newsom?
Had him on my show Friday.
I saw that.
And I first of all, I love him. You just like a guy or you don't. I've known him for a long time. He's done my show for a long time. Do I love everything he does as the governor of California? No, I don't. I wouldn't say I'm undertaxed. Yeah, I have issues with this state. He's a guy. One reason I want him to run for president, well, is because he's obviously a winner.
We're waiting
this
for
guy could fucking do it. It's insane that we have the guy, but we can't run him because we have to tiptoe around Biden and
define a winner.
Well, he would win the election.
So
he would win the election.
He's a talented debater, speaker, communicator, deflector.
And politician. And he's a smart guy. He's a smart, real guy with a pair of balls. Do I love everything? No, you never do with a politician. But first of all, I think if he ran for president, it would be great because it would force him to move to the center. Now you're running not just in California. I mean, this is California. It's weirdo, Will.
Are you a results-driven guy?
No, I like to think, watch things fall apart.
I mean,
of course
you wouldn't build a show that you build and win at the levels you won, for decades if you weren't results-driven, right? I mean, you're Bill Maher.
What do you mean? What's the point about results?
That's exactly where I'm going with you. So results-driven guy.
Right.
What areas has Newsom won in? You said he's a winner.
Winner of the election. He could win the election.
But based on what, though? Do you want results? Like, what has he done to California to say he's a winner? What?
Oh God, I don't know.
No answer.
He sounds like every lib.
Bill, you're a smart
guy. You know what?
guy.
He made it rain, okay, dude?
What?
It wasn't raining.
Someone you said that.
It wasn't raining, and now it's raining. So he's got my vote.
Yo, can I say one thing, though? And I'm happy that you played this clip because I want people to know, and Roger, I want to know just, briefly your point. This is the typical leftist. No answer. Why do you like Gavin Newsom? I love him. Yeah. Why? I don't know.
I've known him for a year.
Well, I think Patrick was right. He's a skilled communicator. He's a great speaker. I thought in the debate with Ron DeSantis, I think he won the debate on style, whereas you'd have to give it to DeSantis on substance.
Facts, yeah.
Gavin Newsom will do for America what he did for California, make it the world's greatest outdoor toilet.
And work with China.
I mean, there's no success here. Crime rates, by any measure. The problem with Bill Maher is without a platoon of comedy writers, he's just not very funny.
Well, you're right. Here's the thing, he has like 20, Roger. He has a bunch.
The credits are almost as long as his show.
Okay. Well, here's some of his highlights with Gavin Newsom. If Gavin Newsom comes into office in September 2020, Newsom signed into law a bill allowing California transgender inmates to be placed in prisons that correspond with their gender identity, because we need that, right? California's violent crime rate is at a 10-year high and rising. Drug use is rising and climbing, pushing gender equality and pornographic materials in schools without the parents' consent. Awesome. What a great guy. And U-Haul sales are up in California.
That's a good one.
And hold on real quick. Kamala signs off on all these ideologies. So, with that said, okay, this question, one last question. Hold on, one last thing, and then we'll get to it. With all that said, with this question I have for Roger, are people so absorbed with their own devices, right, and their own phones and everything they're caught up with, could he possibly win as president? Would people actually vote for him with these racial politics pushing, also with the racial politics pushing our first black female president? Could he be vice president? Would people go for this? Because I don't think Kamala would be our first black president. I have a feeling you have someone that you said to me that you think is going to be our first black female president?
Yeah, actually, so they have a crying need, driving need to replace Joe Biden.
Correct.
Based on the impact of his policies, inflation, gas prices, these employment figures are completely rigged. Their employment is more like 7%. It's not 3%. Oh, we're not counting the 2 million people who over the last 2 years stopped looking for work. But when you factor them back in and you take away the seasonal adjustment, these are jiggered numbers. We want the proof. It's in Joe Biden's approval ratings.
Right.
Yeah. If people had consumer confidence or they thought the economy was strong, it would demonstrate in his approval ratings. It doesn't.
Right.
Again, professional Democrats also see that Kamala Harris is not a winner, which is why I still believe that they will let Biden win enough delegates to be nominated, and that ultimately he will be prevailed upon to say shortly before the convention that he's releasing his delegates to the convention. The convention can work its will, and at that point, they will draft the most popular Democratic woman in the country, Michelle Obama.
There you go. That's the answer I was looking for.
That is their strongest candidate. She has no political record to attack.
Yep.
She's extraordinarily popular.
Yep.
That's where they will go. Now, they have a problem with Kamala Harris, and that problem has to be solved because it is still, by any measure, if Joe's out of the way, it's her turn. I would say two things. First of all, if Joe refuses to go, and he probably will, because he's very stubborn, so is he.
He has nowhere to go.
Then they may have to remove him under the 25th Amendment, which requires just a majority of the cabinet plus the support of Kamala Harris, who will, of course, become president. So she's got an obvious conflict of interest.
Where is she?
And in all honesty, Barack Obama can line up the votes of half the cabinet in an afternoon. So if Joe won't go, they might have to push him. That would not surprise me. Then it seems to me the best way to resolve this, just thinking politically, is you tell Kamala Harris that she, as a former Attorney General of California, she'll get the first Supreme Court seat if you retain the presidency and a majority in the Senate, which they have today. And she's a former senator, so the chances of her confirmation are overwhelming. Then she could be prevailed upon to step aside. Then the vice presidency could go to Gavin Newsom. By the way, Gavin, we need $700 million.
Gavin had brownouts in his state. He's had deforestation. He's beholden to the climate change people. So now the fires go crazy because he doesn't want to do simple cleanup of those things. I think if Bill Maher answered honestly, then he would say, he's not a great guy and I've known him for years and he's just great, he's a winner. He'd say, no, he's lost, he's messed things up, and he's got the most people leaving California, which is the golden goose, the most beautiful state in the world.
And Raj, I'll go to you right after this, Connor. I think it's interesting too, Raj, because everything that you're saying, we can see it. The majority of the country is like, now what the hell are you guys talking about? Like Adam completely is against the whole Michelle thing. Do you think that all this stuff right now that's coming up about Biden and his memory and all that, even though they're Karine Jean-Pierre, who's the Penguin man, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they're all like, he is the smartest.
Oh, yeah.
Best. Now, Raj, are they doing that? Because they obviously have to do it, but are they going to use that memory loss and everything when they do want to kick him out, if he doesn't leave?
I mean, first of all, how come it's always in the private meetings that nobody can see that he's sharp as a tack, but when he's out in public, you know, how dare you question me about the death of my son? I wear this rosary that I got from Our Lady of I have no memory problems.
That was the best.
I was with the president of Mexico just the other day, and I mean, please, you talk about the president of Egypt. I mean, the guy he's very clearly slipping. He also lets his anger show, which is an enormous mistake. He was way too hot. I'm the best qualified person in the country to be president. Who could do what I've done? Indeed, who could do what you've done?
Exactly.
The country's not in great shape, but he actually believes that he is. So I actually think he's delusional on top of it all.
Is he trying to save Hunter? Is that what's keeping him there? So that if he gets taken out, then Hunter goes down, his whole family gets blown up?
Well, certainly a factor. He clearly understands that if he were to resign or if he were to be removed under the 25th Amendment, he would not retain his ability to pardon himself, his brother, his son, and other members of the Biden crime family.
Well, we've now just determined that former presidents can be prosecuted criminally and civilly for things after they leave office. So he knows what's going to happen.
Well, we haven't determined that yet, but the Supreme Court hasn't even agreed to hear it yet. As a matter of fact,
the lower court,
the lower court definitely claimed the D.C. Court of Appeals did rule that there was no post-presidential immunity. So that will now be appealed. It was appealed, I guess, late yesterday to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has not yet said whether they will hear it. That will be very interesting.
So, Raj, you have a question?
Well, what I was going to say is to bring it back to the special counsel report, that might be the magic bullet that they concocted to take out the Biden administration, because that was kind of the missing thing, where we're not going to admit it, but we'll let the special counsel, who will all say, like, he's an idiot, he's a bad actor, whatever, but it's out there now.
Well, first of all, we have to define who they is. So
I was just going to ask
this whole narrative, like there's this woman, Molly Jong-Fast, who's one of the worst writers you've ever seen. She keeps calling him a Republican. This is a Republican plot. He's a Trump holdover. Let's be very clear. Merrick Garland, the Democrat Attorney General, appointed by Joe Biden, could have appointed anyone he wanted to be this special counsel. Mr. Hur previously worked for Rod Rosenstein. When he wasn't working for him, he was working for Christopher Wray. Neither one of those guys are known as big Trump supporters.
Oh, no, they hate
this idea that he is a Republican doing the dirty work of Donald Trump is nonsensical. These are the conclusions of the Biden Justice Department. Now, is they conceivably Barack Obama?
I think so.
Is this a time bomb from Barack Obama? Entirely possible.
Especially if, from what you've been saying, Roger, and I can't count how many times I've given you credit. You were sitting in that chair right there when I first met you, I believe, Roger, with Pat and everybody, and you said, we just started talking about this 2 years ago. We're talking, the pieces are starting to form. 2 years ago, you said it was Michelle was going to be the president of the United States. She was going to run. They're going to put everything behind her. Why wouldn't Barack?
Well, I said she would be the nominee.
She'd be the nominee, 100%.
Yes.
Yep. And
stand by my prediction.
Yeah. So, Raj, we are going to go.
Good story, Brady.
What's up?
That was a good story.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are going to go to the next story for me and Roger. We're going to call this the State of the Union. And Raj, since we're staying on the Joe Biden story, Robert Erd declined to prosecute him, but he said that his practices presented serious risks to national security, which I don't know if you guys, that's not good. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
They also show willful retention of classified documents. Again, I keep reading on MSNBC and CNN them saying, "Oh, there was no willfulness found." No, they obviously haven't read the document.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so they wouldn't charge him because he was an elderly man with poor memory, and they'd be sympathetic to a jury. So, Raj, if the president of the United States can't be held responsible for violations of the law because his mind is mush, how can anybody in their right mind, how are Americans not up on arms, especially when Trump was just running? They're like, we're going to give that guy the codes to nuclear weapons. How are they not in the streets screaming because this guy literally can't
test?
Well, no, but he
can't do it.
But
He refused. He won't take a cognitive test.
one.
So according to his spokesperson yesterday, she said he won't take a cognitive test because he proves in his everyday activities how sharp he is.
Oh, he does.
He certainly does.
And then they said to her, they go, what's his schedule like the next 2 days? She goes, he doesn't have anything on the schedule.
He went in front of the camera and said, listen, I'm not talking to any of you for 2 days.
Remember, he does more in an hour than most people do in a day,
right,
according to the administration.
Yeah, I think he virtually never has public appearances after 5 o'clock.
I agree with you.
And neurologists who have kind of watched the videos of him, this tendency to forget what he's saying in the middle of well, never mind.
I do love that one, Raj. He was in Vietnam. I forgot. It was a couple months ago. And he's talking. He's out of breath. He's clearly been, because think about it, he had to fly to Vietnam, and they got him on the stage.
They put him in a coffin just in case.
Yeah, well, just mid thing, Raj. He's kind of out of breath because he walked the stage, and he was like, I don't know about the rest of you guys. He says this verbatim. But I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
What president?
What
what an embarrassment!
Sweet.
And I'm actually pissed off that the average American, Democrat, whatever you want to call yourself, you're not bothered by this guy. You would much rather have that guy, because remember, privacy, policy over personality. Donald Trump, mean, jerk guy, did everything. No terrorism, no attacks, no nothing. Economy, everything.
No new wars.
No new wars. Everything was perfect, but he was a mean guy. But the average, not the average, not our viewers, because you guys are freaking amazing, but the left, the Democrats are like, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong because they cannot admit that they messed up, Roger.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, is just say, listen, if it was me, just like Michael Rappaport did, which I was shocked, hey, listen, we effed up. I'm sorry, I was duped. They were very good. All I've ever watched, my family has watched CNN, MSNBC, they got me.
Yep.
But now I see the light and I get it. And I love that moment.
Is he a Trump guy?
Who?
Is he a Trump guy now?
Well, right now he said it's not off the table. He said he's going to vote.
That's the thing.
I think Michael Rappaport will vote for Donald Trump. If this is what's happening, he's not going to vote for Gavin Newsom.
But what if it's what if it's Obama, Michelle? Then he's back to going, hey, this is great again.
I think he might, but that's going to be the true test of it. Is if these people start doing the whole Trump is a Nazi bullshit and he's going to end the war. Then I'm going to get very, very vocal because that's enough is enough. You guys are seeing, and this is what pisses me off, Roger, with the Democratic Party. You guys had a chance. You guys had this 3 years.
Don't come
show
around
everybody
now.
how right you were and how crappy of a president Donald Trump was. You guys have had 3.5 years. Nothing is going right. And I'm pretty sure you've heard this when you talk to a leftist. What's going positive? You know what they say? The infrastructure. What are you talking? Yeah. Who? Are you kidding me?
We got doors falling off of planes.
I think they're talking about tents outside, the infrastructure.
Like, Raj, you tell me, isn't it mind-boggling? Like, have you even had an interaction with anybody that's on the other side, Raj, that's waking up?
I'll tell you, the most important thing, the thing most Americans are concerned about, is the survival of Ukraine. There's the number one issue in the country.
Sure.
Yeah.
Never mind our border. We're concerned about the Ukrainian border.
Yeah.
And what you've seen since the release of the special counsel's report is this effort within the media to change the subject. So they take remarks by Donald Trump regarding NATO, which if you go back and read what he actually said, he's telling an old story. It's a complete distortion. But we now try to conflagrate that into a giant scandal. Biden attacks Trump view of NATO. This is an attempt to change the subject. Now, today we have an announcement of a serious national security threat to the country that involves the Russians. We can't tell you what it is, but it needs to lead the news so we can get Joe Biden's falling down or his mental decline off the front pages and out of the lead of the evening news.
And I love that you say that, Raj. Beautiful that you're leading me in. So that's off of what Roger just said, and this is the story right here. House Intel Chairman Mike Turner announces serious great timing, Raj. Serious national security threat. Sources say it has been related to Russia. Weird.
Wag the dog.
Putin,
on the same day that the story breaks, that the Central Intelligence Agency worked with foreign intelligence agents to spy on 26 associates and advisors to President Donald Trump. How ironic that story would come out this afternoon to drown out the story this morning.
Yeah, isn't that weird? And then, what's up, guys? Oh, what is this? Oh, yeah, is there a clip, Cal, or is this just a story?
No, it's just breaking news that the security threat can allegedly disable U.S. satellites.
Great. So the national security threat can allegedly disable U.S. satellites. Wow. So basically, they're predictive programming. They're letting us know what's happening. They're going to blame Russia. It's unbelievable that they are just trying to start a fight with this guy after. Because Raj, I know you saw the Tucker Putin interview. What was just really fast? What was your overall take on what happened? Who won? What was the benefits of it? And what did you learn from it that you never knew about Putin?
It appeared to me like we had numerous opportunities to have both peace and a better relationship with Russia under presidents of both parties. And we reached agreements, the Minsk Accords, the Budapest Memorandum, that we then went back and violated.
Weird.
That was concerning. I think the historical record there is correct. No, I'm not a lover of Putin. Putin's an authoritarian. I have relatives of my own mowed down by Russian tanks in Moscow in Budapest in 1956. So I have no sympathy for him or for the Russian state. But I did think it was interesting because this idea that he has territorial aspirations for all of Eastern Europe, and if he takes Ukraine, he's going to go roll into Poland and Germany. He's never said that, Nikki Haley. Stop saying Putin has announced that, because he hasn't announced it. I think Putin made it very clear those weren't his concerns. His concerns, quite obviously, are NATO missiles funded by us on the ground in Ukraine, pointed at Russia in violation of two different agreements that we have signed saying that we would not do that. That's his concern.
And what about, is there a reason he decided to go in the final year and a half of Biden's administration? Because I think he didn't have any wars going on with Trump there. People saying that's because they were colluding together. But why would he make an actual aggressive move when Biden's there? Is it because when the cat is asleep and the mice are going to play kind of a thing?
I think that he warned Washington repeatedly that if you violate your agreement and you seek to put these missiles in Ukraine, that we're going to have no choice. By the way, Biden himself said early on, we could settle this by giving the Donbass and certain other sections to Russia. there were 2 peace agreements that I think were scuttled not by us and not by the Ukrainians and the Russians, but by Washington. So we had 2 solutions. Instead, hundreds of thousands of people have died, and we spent $250 billion, and obviously they want to send them more.
Yeah.
Makes very little sense.
Yeah, and that'll get to my point, Raj. So that's the hot topic, I think, right now is the controversial foreign aid bill. It's actually insane how it started. The bill was proposed for what? The border, right? It was the emergency border. There's too many people coming in. In 4 years, it'll probably hit a realistic number, $20 to $22 million. And then it went, the House shut it down. And then isn't it just weird that a week later, Roger, they showed their true colors and like, listen, to hell with the border, to hell with America. We're going to try to shove this 95, guys, and I say this number, like everybody just throws around these numbers. Roger, you just said 220 billion, 250 billion. When you just say that, it kind of goes over our head. Do you guys realize how big of a number? It's $250 billion. Okay, yep. So the bill would include to arm Ukraine in its fight against Russia, $60.1 billion for Kiev, which would bring the total to investment in the war effort over $200 million, as well as $14 billion for Israel's war against Hamas, and almost $10 billion for humanitarian aid for civilians in conflict zones, including Palestinians and Gaza. That's like just throwing money because we don't
tab.
Yeah, so we don't feel bad.
Basically, what that admits is we're funding both sides of the war.
A chunk in there for Taiwan as well.
Taiwan got some money in that. And mind you, like I said, our borders are finished. If you look in the streets, just look at New York, look at Philly, where there's literally zombies, homeless people. Everybody's dying in our streets. It's all about that. So, Raj, I want to know.
They're fighting the police.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely ridiculous. So, Raj, I want to know, when is this going to stop? Is it going to stop? Because it's going to go to the House. Is it the next week?
Yes, but the Speaker's already said this bill is dead on arrival.
It's done.
So he's now done 2 things I approve of. The largely symbolic impeachment of Mayorkas.
Beautiful.
Which I think is important to demonstrate that this guy's failed.
Right.
I saw Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, I think I have that right, saying this is outrageous because he's been so effective.
He has been effective.
What world does she live in?
For them.
And then, obviously, there's very little chance of him being convicted in the Senate. So this is largely symbolic.
Yeah.
By the way, and I'm not for him, but it is, we learned today, Mayorkas personally, who made the decision to deny Robert F. Kennedy Secret Service protection.
Right.
Now, I'm not for Robert Kennedy.
Right, no.
Okay, but I'm also not for the assassination or injury to any presidential candidate. And given the fact that he's legally qualified for the protection and the fact that his uncle and his father were both killed in public service, assassinated, why not give this guy the Secret Service protection? It's the reasonable thing to do. This administration denies it to him for 2 reasons. One, because they realize he will have to pay this cost himself out of his own campaign funds, which is a huge amount of money. So it hobbles his campaign. But then secondarily, I guess they think it connotes on him a certain credibility if he has Secret Service protection.
Yep.
Again, I'm not for him. I'm opposed to his candidacy. I like a couple of his views, but overall, I'm a Trump guy. On the other hand, I don't want to see any presidential candidate shot and killed.
Question for you. So what with Mayorkas, don't you think it's a little too late, them impeaching him? And don't you think he already got the job done with getting all these illegals over here?
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, what is? Well, but I have a question for Roger. Legit. What is the point of impeaching him now when Biden's presidency is almost done? What is the point?
It's largely symbolic. I think it's a demonstration that the immigration policies of this administration have failed. If they even have, they don't really have a policy. The policy is open the gates and let everybody in.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that regard, Mayorkas has actually been incredibly effective.
That's what I'm saying.
To say that Mayorkas has not been good at his job implies that his job is to stop people from crossing the border.
Yeah.
Right.
But if his job is to open the border and lead to the replacement of the American population with immigrants.
All the while insisting the border is secure.
Oh, yeah, which he has said.
We just saw a few weeks ago, Josh Hawley is going after him and accusing him of being ineffective, of leaving the border open. And what is his defense? Well, my mother was a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. What's that got to do with anything, man?
Yeah.
But if his job is to open the border, he's incredibly effective.
And you guys realize this too, Raj. I mean, perfect. You're like when people are like, what the hell's Biden doing? Biden's doing exactly what they wanted him to do. Mayorkas, amazing. And he sits there with that smug, that's a face that you just want to just do bad things to.
You saw the thing with Biden a little while ago where he's insisting he doesn't have the power to close the border.
Yeah.
But basically, the entire Biden administration, his entire legacy as a president, could be summed up by an old man standing out in front of a helicopter yelling, "Give me the power! Give me the power!"
And he doesn't have it.
This is a very key point, which is he says, first of all, his Secretary of Homeland Security and his spokeswoman have insisted for months, a year actually, that the border is secure. Now he's asked, and he says, "Oh no, the border's not secure. I've been saying this for a long time."
Wow.
But the Republicans won't give me the tools. Well, you don't need any tools.
No.
The laws are in place today to seal the border. All it takes is the will. I'm not even sure you need more money. I think everything is in place to seal the border today. It's your policies. He repealed all of the policies of Donald Trump immediately upon becoming president, and that is what has opened our borders.
He left the building materials for the wall to rust. A few months ago, they started selling them off because they had nothing to do with them.
And mind you, just about the hell with the wall. All you need, and we found out in Eagle Pass in Texas, all you need is a little razor wire. And guess what? It went from Eagle Pass to 5,000 illegals trying to come over a day to 3. Think about that. Razor wire that the government was suing Texas and Governor Abbott. Like, get that up. You're going to hurt our Border Patrol agents. No, you stupid idiot. It's stopping the illegals. And I don't know if you saw this or not. I'm pretty sure you have, Raj. J.D. Vance from Ohio stated in an op-ed titled, "The Republican Plot Against Donald Trump," that's buried in this bill, okay? There's a text. It's a kill switch for the next Trump presidency. So the legislation explicitly requires funding for Ukraine well into the next presidential term. I think it's up to 2026, I believe, Roger, that if Trump refuses to spend money or if he negotiates to end the war in Ukraine, like as he has promised to do, they will undoubtedly argue that he has broken the law and will give them a predicate to impeach him.
Yeah, I think that's highly unconstitutional, first of all.
Okay.
Because the president makes foreign policy, not the Congress, unless you're declaring war.
Right.
And we haven't declared war. So these airstrikes in Syria, in Iraq, who approved those? By the way, one of the articles of impeachment against Richard Nixon was bombing Cambodia without the approval of Congress. I remember the Congress approving these bombings. So Biden has been free to conduct a disastrous foreign policy. But in this particular case, tying the hands of a future president, I think it's unconstitutional, first of all. But it's tucked in there like a poison pill.
Right.
In other words, we're going to have to keep paying Ukraine forever.
Roger, just staying on Ukraine. And I get it. We're laundering money, and it boggles my mind that people don't get it. People are still wearing pins. I think Biden, during a Super Bowl commercial, had the USA attached with the Ukrainian pin, which drives me bananas.
Should never happen.
Roger, what is the end game? I know we saw, was it BlackRock? It has like a $400 billion investment to rebuild Ukraine. What is this left and right? I think it's a uniparty, Roger. I don't believe any of that crap. What is their goal with this whole Ukraine? To hell with our border, to hell with us. It's Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine, Russia. What is it at its essence?
Well, first of all, war is extremely profitable for some people. And these are the people who donate to the politicians who constantly push the endless war. So this morning I saw a video of Tom Tillis of North Carolina. As far as I'm concerned, this guy is a shit stain in the underwear of the U.S. And he's saying, and he says that Putin is he's on his last leg. No, that's not true. Everything we're being told about this war is essentially false. People that I respect, Colonel McGregor, General Flynn, other military experts, say this is not going well for the Ukrainians. Their great offensive has failed. We're sending good money after bad. I don't know what the bottom line, I think, is about control. But war itself is the end game. It's the war itself that is so profitable for those who are involved in the war machine.
If we actually watch, because from what you're saying and from what I'm seeing, they want a war. They're pushing Putin to the edge. A country that I don't think that we should have any business. He drew the red line. We crossed it with NATO. How close to something like that you think is possible? How to where we're declaring war with Russia?
I think we're on the edge of it today. I think it's the greatest single danger. I mean, look, I watched the Tucker Carlson interview. This guy has the cold look of a killer. He's not somebody I would want to mess with, and they're not going to lose this war. They're just not going to. So what's the obvious end result? World War III? unthinkable.
Well, how does it go down? Do you think they cut our grid and then they do we start a fight with Russia and then they cut our grid? How do you think it plays out? Because that's how I think the movie what's the movie with
Leave the World Behind?
Leave the World Behind. It was kind of happened like that.
Well, that would I think that would be more. And it's funny that you say that because I have that coming up.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Because I'll get to that, Brady. Because my thing I was going to ask you, Raj, is what can we do? We see what's playing out. Look how amped up we are. Kelly gets mad about it. Alejandro, everybody gets pissed off. We all have Robert. Everybody that we talk to, and especially at Valuetainment, is up in arms. We're all furious the second time up in arms. Rob, what can we do as citizens? I mean, do we take in the streets? What can we do? Because the system's not going to stop it. And I think it sucks, Raj, because we talked about this earlier. It's not like we can go to Washington because besides that surveillance that you're talking about, January 6th gave them carte blanche.
Yep.
That if you're even messaging somebody that you're going to show up now in Washington,
protest,
you are finito. There's people going to jail for 20 years. So what can we do, Roger? Because I feel, especially as somebody I'm barking a lot, I would love to bite, but I mean, it's scary because it's at the point where they'll put you in jail for the rest of your life.
Yeah, the answer, I think, is in the electoral process. We need a clean sweep this coming November. We need new leadership top to bottom. There's only one man who I think can do this. There's been very few times in the history of the country when the future of the country relied on one man. It was true of Washington. It was true of Lincoln. It's true of Trump. Is he perfect? No, he's not at all perfect. He doesn't claim to be perfect. But think about how much better things were in terms of peace and prosperity when he was in office and what you have now. Now, I haven't seen this movie because I refuse to pay the money to Netflix. So I don't blame you. I just have to miss this. But the other thing I found really disturbing about the Putin interview is, notice when he talks about the Chinese and my close colleague and friend, Chairman Xi. So we have pushed the Russians into the arms of the Chinese. They are not natural allies. They have a long border and a history of distrust. This is a distrust that Nixon used effectively to play them off against each other, which got us a strategic arms limitation agreement with the Russians. We have pushed the two most dangerous nations on earth together in an alliance against us. That's what we have achieved.
Which is those are the two big bullies that you don't want partnering up, and they hate, dude, China, as much as they try to act like they care, look what they're doing to their own citizens. When people like, especially with COVID, when you couldn't even say that, we still to this day, you can't say that, nobody knows. By the way, we have stuff on Mars right now. We find shit on Mars. We don't know where COVID still came from because they own us.
China, we know where it came from.
No, obviously. So, and then, Raj, when it comes to the border, and this is going into your point, Brady, about that Leave the World Behind, Roger, which the Obamas produced, which is to me predictive programming. It's showing that the grid is shutting off. Just look at what's coming through the border. They've already caught, I think the number is extremely low, what they're reporting, 168 terror watch list people that we caught. Think about the ones that we didn't. Don't forget about the Middle Eastern guy. Did you see this video, Raj? Middle Eastern guy comes over the border. They're questioning him, and he goes, you know what? Don't worry. Soon you will know my name. This country is going to know my name. By the way, where's that guy?
Did they deport him or no?
No.
Deport him?
I don't know.
They gave him a pass, an easy pass. Brady, he's in. And not to mention, are you ready for this stat? I don't know if you know this one or not. 4,344% increase. Hear me. I'll say this again. There is a 4,344% increase of Chinese migrants at the U.S. border. Just yesterday, San Diego Border Patrol arrested 269 Chinese nationals who entered illegally, and there have been over 20,000 Chinese nationals that are encountered at the Border Patrol so far. Do you think this is on purpose, Roger? Because you're seeing, by the way, I've seen Middle Easterns, I've seen Russians, I've seen Ukraine, I've seen Africans, no family members, Raj, all young people, they're all his age.
In their 20s.
Military age men.
Military age men, Raj, they're coming in. The Chinese, listen, the Chinese ones are they're asking them, China. And Raj, I know what suspicious looks like. These guys are quiet, well-dressed, bags. You're talking about the grid, Brady. I think, that's my question. I know I'm rambling. Do you think that this is set up, Roger, from the higher-ups to bring these people in that if they lose control to like a Trump where the Michelle Obama tactic doesn't work, the Newsom tactic doesn't work, Raj, and they're like, oh, shit, nothing worked? They make this phone call and they go, hey, listen, pull the trigger, do it. Do you think something like that's possible?
It's certainly conceivable. I mean, Valuetainment had an excellent coverage of an NBC story where basically those in government are already plotting about how to take away a President Trump's control, civilian control of the military.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're already wargaming, if Trump wins, how to get rid of him a second time. Wow. That way you could have a replay of the 2020 Antifa BLM riots,
yes.
But Trump would have no ability to quell them because they would have removed his authority to do so.
They haven't needed to pull that card lately. We haven't seen anyone arrested the wrong way like we did with George Floyd and so forth. They're like saving those for when there's someone like Trump is in office.
Have you heard this, that they're giving out now huge boxes to migrants that are staying in New York City, and they're getting money, they're getting credit cards, they're also getting hand grenades, they're getting handguns.
Wait, what?
Yes, this is in New York. Look, I'll send you the article.
Okay. They're saying grenades?
They're giving them these huge boxes of ammunition.
What the hell?
Oh, yeah, tons of
giving
stuff.
them these things?
I'll send you the article. Yeah, it was all over. It's all over.
No, I'd seen where Eric Adams had signed legislation for a $53 million preloaded credit card program.
Right.
So we have homeless veterans in New York City with no place to sleep.
Right.
But we're going to be giving preloaded credit cards, 53 million of them.
Well, the only reason why I say that, Vinny, the only reason why I say that is because remember when those riots started, how bricks started showing up everywhere?
Oh, yeah, what do you mean?
Under tunnels and stuff?
Every corner had perfectly set up bricks for people to...
But what scares me even more is now we have all these people that are coming in over the border that are all different nationalities. You think BLM riots were bad?
Oh.
You think people getting pissed off about COVID and sitting in their houses were bad?
Oh, no,
they cut the lights and then they riot?
Let me explain something.
We're effed.
I was sitting in the PBD podcast yesterday, right? Yeah, it was yesterday. And Roger, I had chills in my body because I was thinking about this type of topic because Patrick was reading it, and I just looked around. Even right now, guys, if all the power goes out, everybody at home too, right now, I mean, done out. What are you going to do? Have you even thought of it? Let's be honest. Right now, it's done. The jail cells, all of them have to open. You can't leave them in there. It's all electronically run. Everybody's going to be out. People are going to lose their mind. If you think Costco and toilet paper is a problem, you have no idea. So I'm not a fear-mongering, psychotic person. I hope everybody at least have a minimal survival a week or two, because who knows? Because, again, Brady, I'm happy you brought it up. This past Sunday, the FBI and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, it's called CISA, just published a guide to living off the land techniques. Again, predictive programming, just like Michelle and Barack, their movie. It's scaring the hell out of people, but it's giving you a heads up because the cabal, all these evil people have to let you know what they're going to do because of karmic retribution, okay? Mm-hmm. So this agency, Living Off the Land, it was a response to two publications of reaction to recent warnings about attacks on critical U.S. infrastructure by groups allegedly connected to the Chinese PRC government. So when people are going to go, how did this happen? Where did they come from? It's going to go all the way back to Mayorkas, but as you know, Roger, just like Dr. Fauci's little rat ass, they will be protected. You know, Dr. Fauci right now, to this day, is protected. He's retired, protected by Secret Service. Your tax dollars are I saw him walking for an interview. There's 9 guys protecting him because he knows what he's done. They know what they had him do to keep this freaking world shut down, and it drives me crazy, Raj. What do you think?
Right now, I'm trying to come to grips with the idea of living without air conditioning.
In Florida.
Yeah, we're sweating in here right now.
Yeah, I got probably a few power bars at home. I
have a solar thing for my phone,
hours.
but I'm like, what do I need this for?
No, I got to tell you, Mrs. Stoner's gone out and gotten a gas generator.
Oh, nice.
And the lanterns and all the survival food. See, this is a great thing about having a Cuban-American wife. She's already seen this in Cuba.
She's seen it.
Yeah.
So she's painfully aware of what could happen, and, well, we're very well prepared.
Roger, so is the community, I get what the anti-Trump, he said they're all rapists, all that BS. I know Mexicans hate Trump because they were taught to hate him. Mm-hmm. Are the majority of Cuban Americans, they're pro-Trump?
I think the majority of Cuban Americans are anti-communist.
Gotcha.
And therefore they are pro-Trump. Mm-hmm. They would like to see the liberation of Cuba, which I still think is unlikely. But Cuba is, until the Chinese came along, their subsidies under the Russians are gone because the Russians can no longer afford it. Mm-hmm. But now they're being subsidized by China. remember, we had a huge crisis in this country when the Russians placed missiles in Cuba in 1962. Yep. Right now, we have a full Chinese spying station, and it won't be long before we have Chinese missiles, if we don't already have them, 90 miles from our shore. Yet, this gets no coverage in the United States, or very, very little.
Terrifying.
That's absolutely nuts, Raj. So Raj, this next couple months, I think it's going to be nuts. Raj, when is the first major thing? Are we waiting for the Democratic National Convention? Is there anything? I mean, obviously, we already talked about the cognitive decline and all that stuff. What is going to be the next, the first, big announcement, the first big thing that's going to happen?
Look, I think it's impossible to say. Look what's just happened in the last week that we could never have anticipated. The special counsel had been completely silent. The prosecutions of Donald Trump are moving forward. The Supreme Court's got to make some major decisions. So the next things, really, are to find out whether the U.S. Supreme Court is going to take up the question of presidential immunity. The appeals court in D.C. ruled that he does not have immunity for acts that he performed during the time of his presidency. Now, if that should hold, well, that means when Barack Obama used drones to kill U.S. citizens, he can now be prosecuted for that. When the intelligence agencies spied on Tucker Carlson or spied on James Rosen when he was covering the Biden White House, they can be prosecuted for that. Just a couple of examples. And there's more egregious examples.
Well, how lucky are we that they were trying to nail Trump on having documents, and it just so happened the idiot has documents from back when he was a senator and VP. That's just a magic thing, because that's not Trump.
And again, they say, the difference between he and Trump is he cooperated. No, read Mr. Herr's report carefully. He did not cooperate in the search of his home. So we're not talking about the documents that are already found in his garage. We're talking about new documents, including notebooks and other classified material that was found in his home. He did not cooperate in that search. I've read the report cover to cover. And then secondarily, you remember the big controversy about they allege that Trump read from a document to some reporter?
Yeah.
Well, Joe Biden used the documents in interviews with a biographer from whom a company from which he took an $8 million advance. So he has an interest, he has a motive to hold on to these documents illegally. And when the announcement of the investigation became public, this guy destroyed all the tapes. That's the destruction of evidence. But, of course, he's not being prosecuted either.
I had wanted to bring that up because the fact that there are people in the Trump document case who are facing prison time because they moved a box from one room to another when Trump asked them to. This guy deleted evidence after hearing there was a DOJ investigation. Oh, no, he's covered under whatever Biden got off on, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, there's no explanation as to why he's not being prosecuted. But to examine the Trump document case a little more carefully, you got two different factors. First of all, right now, the special counsel is fighting in the court to keep the list of witnesses against Trump a secret, although I thought you were allowed to confront your accusers. And then secondarily, they don't want to tell us what the documents that are at question here are about. So Trump is going to go to trial, presumably, without the public or even Trump knowing what documents they're saying he held on to because they're too sensitive. Could they have related perhaps to the efforts by the intelligence agencies to spy on Donald Trump? Are those the documents that they're so careful to keep sealed? Unclear.
Apparently the documents, they were comfortable to put them out on the floor and take a picture of them real quick to post on Twitter.
Doesn't make sense.
But you can't know what's in them. That would be too dangerous.
Good point.
And Roger, who do you, just wrapping up, I know it's very early. I know you know people. I know you talk to a lot of people, Roger. If you had to guess out of a stable of three for vice president for Donald Trump, who do you think that he would be considering? Who do you think would be the best choice? And what does the future, Roger, because I've been saying this a lot lately, what do we do past Trump? God willing, this guy comes in, Roger. I want to know, what does the future hold? And I don't even want to say Republican, just left or right, just for the future of America. Because like you said, this is one man that is busting his ass, because I know in my heart of hearts that this guy came in and pulled open the curtain to show us all who these I was almost cussed, I stopped, because we're Christians, Roger. He pulled back the curtain, let us know who these people were, and risked it all. Sacrifice, I don't know if he knew it or not, but when he talked about going after draining the swamp came after him. So my question to you, Roger, who do you think he's going to pick? who do you think's in the stable of running, and where do we go after Trump?
First of all, I think you cannot know or decide who your vice presidential running mate is until you know who the candidate for president and vice president of the Democratic Party is going to be. And as we've discussed here today, we really don't know that. Secondarily, if the president has a short list, in all honesty, he has not shared it with me. I don't think he shared it with anyone. So he may have a short list, but it's in his mind, and therefore it's subject to change at any time.
Smart.
You need somebody, first and foremost, who has the qualifications and the experience and the temperament and the judgment to be president. Something, God forbid, should happen to Trump. That's the first requirement. That's not easy in itself. Secondarily, I think you need somebody who's committed to the Trump agenda. So this idea of ticket balancing.
No.
So he should take a neocon for vice president. If he took Nikki Haley for vice president, he'd need a food taster. I mean, this woman is one of the most duplicitous backstabbers I've seen in history. Hilarious. She makes LBJ look trustworthy. That's how bad she is.
Yeah.
So this idea that he will take Haley, I think there's zero chance of that. You've heard the same names that I have.
100%.
President Nixon once told me that in looking for a vice presidential running mate, don't look for someone who can help you. Simply try to find someone who doesn't hurt you.
Wow.
Now, that may be a little cynical, but the political trick here is to find somebody who does not upset your base, who your base is happy with, it energizes your base, but also helps you reach out to some voter group in which you can make ground. That would mean somebody who is Hispanic, or somebody who is a woman, or somebody who is African American. I would be looking in those areas from a strategic point of view.
What about Indian?
Unlikely, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know if you're talking about the Indian I have in mind.
Yeah.
I don't think it would.
What about
be her.
Tucker? You think Tucker's a possibility, or is that too much of a distraction?
I love Tucker. I would love it personally. It's hard for me to point to a vote that he would get you that you don't already have.
Yeah.
I don't think he has any aspirations for it. Look, I think he's a patriot. If the president asked him to do it, he's told me if he asked me to do it and he was serious, I'd have to do it because it would be my patriotic duty. But he has no interest in doing it. I don't think he aspires to it. And therefore, I think that's unlikely.
Right, and Roger, if you had to put a percentage on it, what is the percentage? Because obviously, you want the votes, you want the female. What is the percentage? If you had to guess, if you had to throw out a number, that it will be a female and not a male.
I mean, in politics, it's always been my practice not to answer hypothetical questions. I mean, Donald Trump is completely and totally unpredictable. That's what's so great about it.
Yeah.
That's why he was a master at foreign policy. That's why the Russians didn't invade Ukraine. It's why the Chinese did not invade Taiwan, because he told them he'd hit him, and he'd hit him hard, and they said, wow, he might actually do it. It's unpredictable.
Unpredictable.
So I would say never underestimate his ability to think outside the box. But first, he's got to find somebody who's fully qualified. Then he's got to find somebody who's completely copacetic with his America First agenda. That means no more money for Ukraine, for example. So I wouldn't want to guess, in all honesty. I'm not going to second guess him. But does it have to be somebody from politics?
Well,
No.
good call.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. It could be somebody from some other discipline. I mean, Donald Trump was not a senator or a governor or a congressman or a general, and he got elected president. And
he could do his old TV show and televise the selection of it,
Oh, that would be
You're hired.
Yeah, you're fired.
Great, dude.
I mean, that would, dude. How many people would watch? Yeah, no, you're the vice president. Yeah,
the vice president.
You remember the process before Justice Gorsuch got selected?
Yeah,
it's like, who wants the robe? They posted a teaser video. It was political mastercraft to do that. So honestly, I'd watch it.
Yep.
Well, look, Trump is a master showman. He already announced in one of these Fox debates that he's already decided on the person. But since he's kept it to himself, he can change his mind at any time.
Exactly.
I mean, he understands the tease here and what a huge news story this is. I just think it's very premature. We could both throw out half a dozen names, but they're the same names you've heard previously.
Yeah, of course.
But when he comes out and says, well, I've got a lot of great choices. This is an interview with Maria Bartiromo, and he mentions Tim Scott, for example.
Yeah.
I forget who, there was somebody else. My guess is, since he threw those names out, those are the people that it is unlikely to be.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Tim Scott could put anybody to sleep. Like, I don't even need ambient. You just have Tim Scott talking. It's just like when the debates. Amazing guy. I love the guy, but it was nothing exciting to see. But anyway, Roger, thank you so much for coming here. It is always a pleasure when I say that you're my favorite. You really are my favorite. And I love you. And by the way, for everybody out there, Roger gave me this a long time ago, and you're never gonna see me wear a suit or a vest without this. Thank you, Connor, Kayvon, Brady. I love you guys to death. For all you guys out there watching, thank you so much for watching. Click on the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And again, guys, if you want to talk to Roger, if you want to text him back and forth, if you want a video of Roger, if you want to FaceTime Roger Stone and just shoot the crap and talk or ask advice, if you're trying to run for something or you want to do something to get your... By the way, this guy has made politicians, and he's made people the people that they are. And if you want to get good clothing advice, I mean...
And Vinny, let's say where we can find each of us.
Everybody's on Instagram. Kayvon, what's your Instagram?
Well, I'm doing The Right Show every week. We make fun of the news in a fun way so we can get through it, and that's on YouTube. So
Brady?
The Right Show.
Check out The Mouthpiece on Valuetainment Sports, and you can follow me at Brady Matthews 13.
It's a great show.
Connor?
I'm Connor VT on Twitter, and as always, VT.com to read all our articles. We got a lot of good stuff in the works over there, so check that out.
So, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Peace and love. Oh, wait. Oh, wait.
Who is this guy?
Wait. I mean, you're Roger Stone. If they don't, Roger.
StoneZone.com. Check it out. All right.
StoneZone.com. And then what? Are you on your Rumble and YouTube and everything?
You can find everything at StoneZone.com. I'm also Roger Stone. It would be actually rumble.com/Roger Stone.
Great.
Both.
And that's it, Raj. I love you to death. We're going to go to dinner this week. All right, guys, I love you. Take care of each other. Be safe. And if you see something, say something. I love you guys. We're out.